Have you ever wondered why your smartphone screen looks exactly the way it does? Or, why certain tech giants seem just completely invincible, no matter what kind of controversies they face?
Yeah, it's like they're practically bulletproof at this point.
Right. Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are basically cracking the cheat codes to your digital life. We're pulling from three incredibly dense but fascinating academic sources.
Very dense.
We get a comprehensive overview of a mathematical concept called coordination games, a sweeping policy paper on the economics of platforms from the Toulouse School of Economics, and a tribute to Nobel laureate Jean Tirol's groundbreaking work on antitrust economics.
Which I know it sounds like a massive stack of heavy economic theory.
It really does.
But I promise, the concepts inside these papers, they translate directly to your everyday reality. I mean, right down to the minute-by-minute choices you make on your own devices.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. To really understand how these billion-dollar tech monopolies operate and, sometimes trap us, I need you to picture something far away from a computer screen.
Okay, I'm with you.
Imagine you're driving down a really narrow, dusty dirt road.
Just enough room for one car, I'm guessing.
Basically, yeah. And suddenly, there's another car coming right at you. Fast. You both have a split second to react. If you both swerve to your right, you pass each other safely in the dirt.
Right.
If you both swerve to your left, you're also totally fine.
Because the direction doesn't actually matter, right? As long as you pick the exact same side as the stranger in the other car.
Yes, but if you swerve right and, they swerve left, boom, head-on collision, it is a massive high-stakes guessing game about what another human being is going to do under pressure.
And in game theory, that dirt road scenario you just described, that's known as a coordination game.
Okay.
It describes a situation where players earn higher payoffs by choosing matching strategies. It's not a game of pure conflict.
Like chess or something.
Exactly. In chess, my win is your loss. But here, both players want the exact same good outcome, and that results in multiple pure strategy Nash equilibria.
Nash equilibria, as in John Nash, the mathematician from A Beautiful Mind.
That's the one, yeah. Let's put some mathematical weight to your dirt road example because the numbers actually explain the anxiety of the situation.
Okay, lay it on me.
So, if both drivers swerve left or both swerve right, let's assign a payoff of 8 to each driver. Total success. You both get to go home.
Sounds good to me.
But if you mix it up, one goes left, one goes right, the payoff is 0 for both, a total collision. So your optimal move isn't based on your own skill at all. It depends entirely on your expectation of the other person's behavior.
Which is absolutely terrifying when you don't know the other person.
Right.
And reading through our sources, it gets even more complicated when the choices aren't perfectly equal.
Yeah.
There's this classic example originally framed by the philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau.
Ah, yeah, the stag hunt.
Stag hunt.
That's the classic assurance game. This one is really foundational for understanding human behavior.
So picture two hunters in the woods. They can cooperate to hunt a stag, like a massive deer, which provides enough food to feed both their families for weeks.
A huge payoff.
A massive payoff.
Yeah.
But hunting a stag requires immense coordination. And if one hunter just bails to do something else, the stag escapes and the remaining hunter gets absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all.
But alternatively, either hunter can quietly defect and hunt a rabbit completely alone. The rabbit is a tiny payoff. It's barely a meal. But, it's guaranteed. It requires zero cooperation.
And this scenario right here is where human psychology just slams into cold mathematics.
I instantly thought it like every group project I've ever done, whether in school or work.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to hunt the stag, you want to put together this massive game-changing presentation that impresses the boss, but you just don't fully trust your teammates to put in the grueling late-night hours.
So what do? You
do the bare minimum. You hunt the rabbit. You settle for a mediocre, safe outcome because you'd rather guarantee a passing grade than risk failing entirely just because someone else dropped the ball.
What's fascinating here is that academics have rigorously tested this exact psychological tension in laboratories.
Wait, really? How?
Well, there's a study mentioned in our sources by researchers Devetag and Ortman, and they conducted these weak link experiments. They brought groups of people in and literally just asked them to count and sort coins.
Okay, not exactly hunting a massive stag, but I see where they're going.
Right. But the brilliance was in the compensation structure. Players received a baseline payoff based on their own individual speed and accuracy.
Exactly.
However, they also received a significant bonus. But that bonus was weighted entirely by the number of errors made by their worst performing team member.
Oh, wow. That is wonderfully cruel. You are entirely tethered to the weakest link in the room.
Completely. And the research backs up that exact anxiety you felt in your group projects. What economists find over and over when studying coordination failure is that human beings consistently choose risk dominance over payoff dominance.
Risk over payoff.
Yeah. Even when the math on the whiteboard clearly shows that coordinating on the optimal equilibrium, hunting the stag yields the highest possible payoff for everyone, we just sacrifice that optimal outcome for the safer bet.
Because the cognitive burden of trusting a stranger is just too high.
Exactly. We naturally default to safety.
I mean, it makes complete sense from an evolutionary standpoint,
Yeah.
but it creates some really bizarre dynamics when people actually want different things.
Yeah.
Like the battle of the sexes game mentioned in the overview.
Yeah, that introduces a conflicting interest into the coordination game.
Yeah.
Imagine a couple trying to finalize weekend plans.
Oh,
They both derive their highest utility from spending time together. But one desperately wants to go to a football game, and the other desperately wants to go to an art museum.
so they're at odds.
Right. But they would both rather be together doing their less preferred activity than be separated doing their favorite activity.
So knowing that your partner wants to coordinate doesn't actually solve the problem of where to coordinate.
Mhm.
You're just stuck in this, standoff.
Exactly.
And then there are situations where coordinating is actually the absolute worst thing you can do.
You're bringing up anti-coordination games. They're often called crowding games.
Yes. The sources use the example of picking a route for a road trip in California.
Right.
You can take Interstate 280, which is famously scenic and beautiful,
Oh.
or U.S. Route 101, which is, a bit more industrial but shorter.
Right.
If everyone coordinates and assumes the scenic route is better and decides to take 280, it becomes a miserable bumper-to-bumper traffic jam.
And that introduces the concept of negative network externalities. In a crowding game, the more people who make the exact same choice you make, the worse the payoff gets for everybody.
So we are fundamentally wired to take the safe bet out of fear of the unknown, but we also struggle to align our preferences, and sometimes aligning them ruins the experience anyway.
It's a mess.
So how does that leap from a psychological quirk into macroeconomics?
Because tech companies realize that our collective fear of the stag hunt is actually a massive financial opportunity.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. If an entrepreneur can step in and remove the fear of coordinating, if they can guarantee that the other person will show up and do their part, they can build an absolute empire. They get paid to be the ultimate stag hunt coordinators.
So they eliminate the guessing on the dirt road. They basically pave it, paint lanes, and install traffic lights.
That is a perfect way to look at it. And the way they do this is by building two-sided platforms. Think about the titans of our era: Amazon, Uber, Airbnb.
Right, the big ones.
These platforms operate via a mechanism called disintermediation.
Meaning they remove the middleman.
Actually, no. They become a new, hyper-efficient kind of middleman by separating information management from actual physical production.
Oh, I get it.
Right, like Uber doesn't own a fleet of taxis. Airbnb doesn't own a global chain of hotels. Their sole job is matching two distinct sides of a market who care deeply about the size of the other side's population.
That makes total sense. An Uber driver only cares about opening the app if they know there's a massive pool of riders waiting.
Exactly.
And I only open the rider app because I trust there's a massive pool of drivers circling my block. The sources call this intergroup network effects.
And because of those powerful demand-driven network effects, these markets have a gravitational pull to tip toward a single monopoly.
Just naturally.
Yeah, the underlying math strongly favors the largest player. If one platform gets even slightly ahead in user numbers, consumers on both sides just flock to it because the network is more reliable.
Right.
And that accelerates its dominance until it simply swallows the entire market whole.
Wait, I'm looking at my phone right now, though, and the math you're describing isn't matching my reality.
How so?
If tipping guarantees one winner takes all monopoly, why am I staring at Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub sitting right next to each other? Why are there so many different social networks if human psychology just wants to be exactly where everyone else is?
Well, you're hitting on the core problem with the early tipping models. While tipping is a really strong force, our sources, specifically diving into the work of economists Julian and Sanzantman, outline powerful counterforces that actually prevent total monopolization.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first major counterforce is platform differentiation.
Meaning they aren't actually offering the exact same stag hunt.
Precisely. A smaller platform can survive and even thrive if it caters to a specific, highly engaged niche. Think about an app like Strava.
Oh, the running app?
Yeah, it's a social network, but it's explicitly designed for runners and cyclists tracking their routes. Or consider how TikTok initially captured a much younger short-form video demographic compared to legacy platforms.
That makes sense.
If the specific feature set is strong enough, consumers will happily accept a smaller overall network because the quality of interaction is just higher for them.
It's the battle of the sexes resolving itself.
Hmm.
We want to be connected, but we're willing to segment ourselves to get the specific experience we prefer.
That's exactly it. Now, the second and arguably most important counterforce is multi-homing. This is exactly why you have 3 food delivery apps on your phone.
Oh, because I can use all of them.
Right. When users can effortlessly subscribe to or download multiple competing platforms, it fundamentally changes the power dynamics of the market.
I want you, if you're listening right now, to literally look at your phone screen the next time you unlock it. Those little app icons aren't just colorful squares of software. They're active battlegrounds for single homing versus multi-homing supremacy.
Absolutely.
The platforms desperately want you to single home, to only use them. But your ability to seamlessly multi-home keeps them in check.
And the third counterforce keeping monopolies at bay is one we touched on earlier: congestion.
Right, the traffic jam.
Yeah. In housing rental platforms or gig work apps, if there are simply too many sellers competing for attention on one massive platform, they might actually flee to a smaller secondary platform just to escape the intense competition.
Even if it means fewer buyers.
Yeah, even if it means sacrificing access to a larger pool of buyers. It's just too crowded.
Okay, so if the ultimate goal of a tech platform is to force the market to tip in their favor and overcome all those counterforces, how do they actually capture the users to hit that critical mass?
It's tricky.
Because the chicken and egg problem seems fundamentally impossible. You can't get the riders without the drivers, but you can't convince drivers to sign up without a huge base of riders.
The answer lies in bizarre, highly aggressive, and honestly often counterintuitive pricing strategies. Our policy paper highlights a pricing formula developed by economist Mark Armstrong.
Okay.
It beautifully illustrates the mechanics of how platforms basically manipulate markets into existence.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Walk us through Armstrong's formula.
So Armstrong argues that the optimal price a platform should charge a user equals their base cost plus a standard markup.
Okay, standard business so far.
Right. But then minus the value that user creates on the other side of the market, minus the competitor value destroyed.
Oh, okay, let's slow that down. Cost plus markup. I get that.
Yeah.
I buy a coffee mug wholesale for $1, I sell it to you for $2. But those last two variables, minus the value created on the other side.
Because of those cross-side network effects we discussed, platforms will heavily subsidize one side of the market. Sometimes they'll offer their premium service completely for free.
Wow.
Or they'll operate at a staggering financial loss per transaction just to attract that specific side.
But why?
Because capturing that first user artificially inflates the price they can successfully charge the other side of the market.
This is exactly like a nightclub.
A nightclub.
Yeah. Think about the business model of a high-end nightclub. They will often let a specific demographic, say groups of young women, in for free, waive the cover charge, maybe even hand them free drink tickets.
Oh, I see where you're going.
The club is taking a massive, quantifiable financial loss on that specific group at the door.
Huh.
But they do it because attracting that demographic creates immense taxable value on the other side of the market.
Right, it brings in the other crowd.
Exactly. It attracts the demographic willing to pay a $100 cover charge and buy exorbitant VIP bottle service just to be in the same crowded room. The platform, the nightclub, subsidizes one side entirely to monetize the other.
That is a remarkably accurate application of the economic model. The nightclub is executing a localized divide-and-conquer strategy.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah. But this strategy gets vastly more complex and frankly more ruthless when you introduce dynamic competition over time in the tech sector.
How so?
Imagine an incumbent platform, a massive, globally established tech giant. They hold what economists call the incumbency advantage. They are the focal platform.
Meaning everyone just assumes everyone else is already using it. It's the safe bet. It's the rabbit hunt.
Exactly. So to dethrone that entrenched incumbent, a new entrant can't just release a slightly better piece of software.
Because it's not enough.
Right. Even if the entrant's product is vastly superior in speed and design, consumers won't switch because the network of other humans isn't there yet.
So how do you break into a market where the winner is already basically decided?
By accepting colossal initial financial losses. The entrant must aggressively subsidize users over a very long period to literally rewrite the coordination game in the minds of the public.
Oh, wow.
They have to change the market's fundamental beliefs about the future. They have to convince the public that they are the new focal point.
Like ride sharing in the early days.
Yes, companies were bleeding billions of dollars, subsidizing both the drivers' wages and the riders' fares. They weren't just buying market share, they were buying a shift in human habit.
That's wild.
If they can convince the market that they are the inevitable winner, the market tips, and they can eventually raise prices to recoup those massive initial losses.
It's a high-stakes game of financial chicken, which brings us to a massive societal problem.
Oh, definitely.
If these platforms are utilizing extreme pricing algorithms and operating at multi-billion-dollar losses just to starve out rivals, locking up exclusive contracts, and using sheer network dominance to stay on top, how on earth can governments regulate them,
It's tough.
right? If a regulator steps in and breaks up a tech giant, don't they destroy the very network effects that make the platform useful to us in the first place?
That is the multi-trillion-dollar question facing every major government today. And it brings us to the profound work of Jean Tirole.
He won the Nobel Prize in Economics back in 2014.
He did. And the Swedish Academy explicitly stated he won it for the science of taming powerful firms.
Nice title, yeah.
To truly grasp Tirole's genius, you have to understand the historical context. By the late 1970s and 80s, antitrust doctrine in the United States and Europe was arguably in shambles.
Shambles in what way? Like, were they just not regulating anything at all?
It wasn't a lack of regulation, it was the type of regulation. Courts and regulators were relying on a highly rigid, structural approach, heavily influenced by the Chicago School of Economics.
Okay.
They were searching for simple, universally applicable mathematical rules. They believed that if a company had a specific percentage of market share, they were inherently bad. If they priced a product below cost, it was automatically illegal predatory pricing.
But tech platforms don't fit into neat little industrial boxes. Like, as we just discussed with Armstrong's formula, sometimes pricing below cost isn't predatory at all.
Exactly.
It's just the nightclub model trying to build a two-sided network from scratch.
And that is exactly what Tirole proved. He built what is now universally known as post-Chicago antitrust economics.
Oh, okay.
He dragged the field away from those rigid, one-size-fits-all rules and introduced a flexible, game-theoretic approach. He proved mathematically that regulators must analyze these markets on a painstaking case-by-case basis
Because every market is different.
because the underlying structures of different tech industries are radically diverse.
Our sources mentioned he completely dismantled something called the single monopoly profit theory. The name alone makes it sound like a monopoly can only cash in once, which sounds completely counterintuitive when we look at companies that dominate hardware, software, and advertising all at once today.
It's crazy.
How did economists actually believe that?
Well, it does sound absurd now, but the old Chicago school belief was that if a company had a true monopoly in one core market, they couldn't possibly use it to secretly extract more monopoly profits in a neighboring complementary market.
Wait, why not?
The theory assumed that robust competition in that second market would naturally keep them honest. It assumed the bucket of monopoly money couldn't be expanded, only shifted around. Tirole proved that was a dangerous fallacy.
How did he prove it?
He modeled how dominant firms absolutely can and do use a tactic called vertical foreclosure.
Vertical foreclosure.
Yeah. They deliberately distort competition in a neighboring market, not necessarily to make a quick buck there, but to protect their original monopoly fortress or extract hidden rents long term. Mastering one vital link in an economic chain allows a monopolist to legally choke out innovators in the next link.
So, to put that in modern terms, if a company makes the dominant smartphone operating system, they can subtly throttle competing mapping apps or take a massive cut of all digital purchases just to ensure their own in-house apps win.
Exactly.
They use dominance in market A to foreclose market B.
That is a textbook example of vertical foreclosure in the digital age. And Tirole didn't stop there. He also did groundbreaking work on how these modern giants collude to keep prices high. without ever actually communicating with each other.
Tacit collusion,
Hmm.
which sounds impossible to prosecute. I mean, if there's no leaked email saying, hey, let's fix prices at $20, how does a government lawyer prove they are cheating the consumer?
It is incredibly difficult. Before Tirole and his frequent collaborator Eric Maskin, economists struggled to mathematically prove how companies were matching prices without sitting in a smoke-filled room signing illegal contracts.
Right.
Tirole and Maskin introduced a concept called the Markov perfect equilibrium.
Okay, break that down for us.
Think about two gas stations sitting directly across the street from each other on a lonely highway.
Sure.
They don't need to call each other on the phone to fix the price of premium unleaded. They just look out the window at the other's massive digital sign. Because changing the digital sign is instant and costs them nothing, what economists call sticky prices, they achieve a Markov perfect equilibrium.
So they both keep prices artificially high, knowing that if one drops their price by 10 cents to steal customers, the other will look out the window and instantly match it, destroying the profit margin for both of them.
Precisely. They set their prices based purely on the current observable state of the market.
No emails required.
They don't need formal agreements. They don't even need to initiate complex punishment strategies against competitors. It is just highly evolved, rational, parallel conduct.
So what does this all mean for the listener? We are talking about Markov equilibriums and vertical foreclosure. How do these academic regulatory battles actually impact the wallet of the person listening right now?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, competition policy isn't just a mechanism for punishing big companies simply because they grew big and successful.
Right.
It is fundamentally about protecting what economists call dynamic competition.
Meaning competition over time.
Yes, it means ensuring that a small, highly innovative new entrant, maybe a startup operating out of a garage with a genuinely better, faster product, has a fair mathematical chance to displace a lazy, bloated incumbent.
Makes sense.
If the incumbent is allowed to use their sheer network effects, exclusive vendor contracts, and bottomless pockets to build an impenetrable fortress, innovation stalls.
And we pay the price.
You, the consumer, get stuck paying higher prices for inferior, outdated products simply because the incumbent got to the market first and locked the gates. Tirole gave regulators the actual mathematical toolkit to recognize when those fortress walls are being built unfairly.
And as we look to the near future of the digital economy, this is only going to get messier. The choices made by these regulators and by the platforms themselves are going to force all of us into trade-offs we probably don't even see coming.
Oh, without a doubt. In fact, the policy paper points out a fascinating phenomenon regarding platform mergers called the seesaw effect, researched extensively by Correa da Silva and colleagues.
A seesaw.
Yeah, when two massive, two-sided platforms merge, the outcome is rarely universally good or universally bad for everyone involved.
So one side of the market goes up in value, and the other side slams into the ground.
Exactly. Because of those cross-site externalities, a massive platform merger might actually be amazing for you as a consumer. Suddenly, you have access to a massive unified network. You don't have to check 3 different apps. Everything is in one place. Your side of the seesaw goes way up. You win.
But the other side of the market, let's say the gig workers driving the cars, or the third-party merchants selling the goods.
They might get completely crushed. The newly merged mega platform now wields immense, unchecked market power over them.
Because they have a monopoly now.
Right, those workers or sellers have nowhere else to go to find customers, so the platform can extract massive fees from them or squeeze their wages. The consumers get cheap rides, the drivers take a pay cut, the platform controls the fulcrum of the seesaw.
Which makes a regulator's job a total nightmare. Who do you protect? The millions of consumers who want cheap convenience, or the thousands of suppliers who need a living wage?
And that dilemma leads directly to the starkest warning in all of our sources, authored by Jean-Jacques Lafont and Jean Tirole. They warned heavily about the very real danger of regulatory capture.
Where the massive companies being regulated essentially use their influence to take over the regulatory bodies themselves.
It happens because of massive asymmetric information.
What do you mean?
Think about it. A tech giant has thousands of elite software engineers and data scientists. They know exactly how their proprietary algorithms function and adapt. The government regulators, by comparison, are fundamentally operating in the dark.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If a government tries to implement regulations that rely on high-powered incentives or incredibly rigid, complex rules, the tech giants will simply use their superior knowledge to game the system. Lafont and Tirole warned that poorly designed, overly complex regulations might actually cement monopolies into place forever rather than breaking them up.
So we need what Tirole called information-light policies. Regulations that don't require the government to miraculously know more about the code than the tech companies themselves, which is like an impossible task anyway.
That is the only sustainable path forward.
Well, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today, building on everything we have unpacked from these sources.
Let's hear it.
At the very beginning of this deep dive, we talked about human psychology and coordination games. The stag hunt. We learned that human beings naturally mathematically default to risk dominance. When faced with uncertainty and the need to trust others, we consistently choose the safe, individual rabbit hunt over the risky, coordinated stag hunt.
It is our deeply ingrained psychological default to protect ourselves.
So here is the philosophical question for you. Are we, as a modern society, willingly accepting the dominance of tech monopolies simply because staying inside their enclosed, comfortable, perfectly coordinated ecosystems is the safer choice?
Oof. That raises a very uncomfortable but important question about our own complicity.
Are we forfeiting a wilder, more innovative, and truly competitive digital world simply because we are too afraid of the massive, messy coordination required to build it from scratch? Are we just hunting the rabbit because it's easy and the rabbit is already in our pocket?
I mean, it is certainly much easier to just stay on the platform where all your friends and credit cards already are, rather than coordinating a mass exodus to something new.
Exactly. So the next time you unlock your phone, look at those apps and ask yourself, which game are you actually playing? Because remember, if you are on that narrow dirt road and you're waiting to see which way the other driver swerves, by the time you figure it out, the game might already be over.
Choose your lane carefully.
Thanks for taking the deep dive with us.